If you keep hearing the word triads over and over again and how important they are to your musical education, but you don't quite know exactly what all these people are talking about, then this video is for you. We're going to go through all the basic triads. I'm going to show you how to build them, of course, what they sound like. And if you stay until the end of the video, I'm also going to show you a few of the stranger triads that I like to use in my music, and maybe you'll be able to implement them into your own. All right, let's begin. Triads are simply groups of 3 notes stackable in thirds. So let's keep it very simple. If we have a root, let's say C, we can build triads by adding to this C a third, so C, D, and E, and a fifth, F, G. So C, E, and G will be our triad. Now, what E and what G, that's what makes things interesting. And for that, we're going to move over to the piano, where you'll be able to see and hear these triads in action. Very well, let's begin by establishing a root for our triads. The root is the note from which we count our thirds and fifths that make up the triads we're interested in today. So we're going to keep things very simple for the sake of this video, and the root will be C. All right, and from here we'll derive all the triads we're going to talk about today. The first triad we'll look at today is called the Major Triad. Let me just play it for you. It has a very bright, open, happy sound. This is the quintessential major sound. And how do we build it? Well, it's very simple. Starting from the root, we need 2 different notes or intervals for this triad. One is called the major third, and the other is called the perfect fifth. How do we find them? Extremely simple. To find the major third, we count 4 half steps, sometimes known as 2 whole steps, which is basically 4 keys from the root. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our major third. The perfect fifth, you can look at it 2 ways. You can count 1.5 steps from the major third, so it's 3 keys, 1, 2, 3, and find the G, or you can count 7 half steps from the root, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No matter what, you'll end up with a C, an E, and a G, or also you can look at it as a root, major third, and perfect fifth. Now keep in mind that if you move it around, the notes will change. But the distances will always be 4 half steps plus 3 half steps. That's key in every triad and something you should always keep in mind. Now that you've wrapped your head around the major triad, things get a lot easier because we can simply modify this triad to find the other ones. For example, the second triad, and the second probably most important triad in the world, is the minor triad, or a minor chord. And how do we do it? Well, all you have to do is take this note here, the major third, and lower it a half step. So play 1 key before that. In this case, we were playing C and E. I just lower it to E flat, and now I have a minor triad. Because the fifth and the root stay the same, all I have to do is lower the third. Of course, you could also look at it this way. The minor third is only 3 half steps above the root. 1, 2, 3. And that's probably a better way to look at it, because you don't want to depend on a major triad every time you look for a minor. But this is your minor triad. In C, the notes are C, E flat, G. Again, if I were to move it around, I would have to compensate and get some flats or sharps in there to make sure that I'm still maintaining the 3 steps here and the 4 steps to the fifth. From the major triad, we can also derive another one of the 4 basic triads, which is called the Augmented Triad. And that's played by simply raising the fifth or the G 1 half step, like this. And it sounds pretty mysterious and beautiful in a way. Right? Sounds like a mystery movie. And again, all we did was take the major triad and change the fifth to an augmented fifth by raising it a half step. One curious thing about this triad is that now the distance between the root and the third, which was 4 half steps, is the same as the distance between the third and the fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a symmetrical triad, because check this out. If I count from the fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm back to C again. So this really is a symmetrical triad. It's called the Augmented. and it's a beautiful triad in itself. For the last of our basic triad, let's go back really quickly to the minor triad, which was like this: root, minor third, and perfect fifth. And if we lower the fifth 1/2 step, we'll find the diminished triad, which sounds like this. Hauntingly beautiful and mysterious. It can be a very useful triad in composition, but we'll get to that some other time. And how we find it is simply by taking the fifth of a minor chord or triad and lowering it. We're diminishing it 1/2 step from G to G flat. All right, and geometrically it's kind of interesting because check this out. We have from the root to the minor third, we have 1, 2, 3 notes, right? And then from the minor third to the fifth, we have again 3 notes. And it gives us this beautiful sound. And these are the 4 basic triads. Let's review all the triads very quickly. Let's start from the major triad. We have a root, a major third, and a perfect fifth. In the key of C, C, E, G. If from this triad we lower the third to a minor third, so we have C, E flat, G, this is the minor triad. Now if we go back to major and we raise the fifth 1/2 step, we have an augmented triad, C, E, G sharp. And now if we go back to minor and we lower the fifth 1/2 step to a diminished fifth or G flat, we have a diminished triad. At the beginning of the video I promised that I was going to show you some of the stranger triads I like to use in composition, and why these are not strictly speaking triads, because they're not stackable in thirds. You're still going to love them, I think. Here's the first one. I still have my root and my fifth. But instead of a third, I'm going to use a second. In this case is D, a major second, a whole step above the root. It's an ambiguous sound. It's not major, it's not minor. It could be any of them. And it's a very open sounding, beautiful sound. Instead of losing the third for a second, you could also lose the third for a fourth, or the note right above it. And you get this sound, which is called the suspended fourth. Again, very ambiguous. It does want to fall back onto major or minor, but still, it's a wonderful sound you can use. Now, if you raise this note even higher, you go to what I call a Lydian triad, which is a strange, mysterious sound that I like to use a lot. And one final one, this is going to sound a bit strange, but again, we have our root and fifth, but we play the note right next to the root, 1/2 step above the root, for what I call the Phrygian triad. If it sounds too dissonant, you can spread it out on the keys or on the guitar or whatever it is you're playing, and you get this other sound, which is kind of exotic and mysterious. And there you go, my 4 stranger triads that I wanted to show you. I hope you've enjoyed this video on the triads and found it useful. If you would like me to get into how to apply this stuff to the guitar, please let me know in the comments below, and I will of course keep it in mind for a future video. Thank you very much as always for your support, your kindness, and if you've enjoyed the video, maybe give it a like. If you haven't joined us yet, subscribe, and I will see you very, very soon with some more videos. Bye bye.